Welcome back to the Bearcat Tip-Off Talk podcast presented by Donahue Accounting Services. For friendly expert tax advice whenever you need it, come to Donahue Accounting Services. A leading accounting firm in Cincinnati, Ohio, our top-notch accountants strive to help you resolve all your financial and tax issues. Call Donahue Accounting Services today for a free consultation at 513-528-3982 or visit online donahueaccountingservice.com. I'm your host, Alex Meacham, former basketball player from 1997 to 1999 under the Hall of Fame coach, Bob Huggins.
And I am Neil Meyer with the Front Office News.
I'm JT Smith, editor-in-chief of the Front Office News.
All right, fellas, we're back. Let's jump right into it. The Bearcats have improved to 4-0 after beating the NKU Norse 76-60. JT, thoughts on the Bearcats' performance?
Hey, it was a gritty win. One of those games I think is going to prepare them for the rest of the non-conference season. You know, the first team that really challenged them, gave them a chance that, you know, if the Bearcats didn't step it up in the second half, they could have lost that game. True road game. They didn't rebound well. And that was one of the things they protected the ball, but they did not rebound well. Showed improvement in the second half, but all in all, gutsy win, a win that just shows the talent they have, you know, in general. You know, when they get it going, it's not a lot of teams that can beat them. You know, I think NKU, I want to get them props. They're going to be trouble on the horizon. I would not be shocked if that team makes the NCAA tournament. So that's a quality win. People probably won't give them the props they deserve on that dub, but it was legit.
JT, were you nervous at any point during that game?
Yeah, I think like the Bearcats were up 9 in this first half, and then NKU just wouldn't go away, and they were making a lot of tough shots.
They were.
And then even at the beginning of the second half, I think who made the first three? Was it Seamas? Did he make the three? And then the kid came down and hit a shot that was just like a super tough shot. And I think Seamas might have hit another three, or somebody hit another three, and gave him some space. And I think after that they kind of calmed down and started missing a little bit, but it was one of those things that, you know, when you cover a lot of games, watch a lot of UC games, when teams are making tough shots, normally it's like, oh, it's going to be one of those nights where the game's going to come down to the wire the last 2 minutes, and it didn't happen. So props to UC, but I was nervous for about, I ain't going to lie, I mean, I thought maybe about 10 minutes between like the end of the first half and early second half.
Yeah, I was hoping we didn't have flashbacks to the last time we played at NKU, but like you said, they found a way to dig down deep, you know, and have that grit to win that basketball game. Now, Neil, your thoughts on the Bearcats' performance?
Yeah, the first half was definitely interesting to say the least, because, I mean, everyone who kind of follows NKU or has watched NKU this season, they were kind of waiting for that moment from Sam, whether it would come back to kind of take that hurdle over the mental aspect after the ACL surgery. And then once you saw the first, 3 or 4 go in for Sam, you're like, oh, well, Sam might cook us for 30 again tonight, and that's what it looked like. And then 32-28 in the first half. Cincinnati responds in the second half. I mean, Simas Lukosius was fantastic in the second half, and now people are starting to see how fantastic Simas Lukosius actually is. I mean, 5 for 5 from behind the arc, 6 of 9 on the game, 18 points. So overall, Simas Lukosius was a game changer in this one. But what really stood out to me was the play of Day Thomas in his first game back, just 14 minutes. But I thought he opened things up for Simas in the second half, especially to allow him to get going from behind the arc. I thought the dribble drive penetration kick out to the corners was fantastic. That really allowed Cincinnati's offense to get going. So I thought that was a great sight to see. However, you can desperately see that Cincinnati is still missing Dan Skillings after getting out rebounded 30-27 again for now the second straight game after being out rebounded by Morehead State and now NKU. I know Wes Miller wasn't pretty happy about that, but overall, there's still a lot of positives to take away. You get that road win and a tough environment. Everyone knows that, but shout out the Bearcats fans, man. There was more red and black in there than there was yellow and gold or yellow and black. So overall, it was like another Bearcat takeover just across the river.
Yeah, and listen, I thought it was a good game for the Bearcats for a lot of different reasons. There was some struggle in that game, and I'll be honest, I was frustrated at times watching that game. I'm like, because NKU's like making tough shots.
Yeah.
And the one thing that really, kind of frustrated me and bothered me, I think I'll talk about this a little bit later, that I think the Bearcats need to work on improving before we get to Xavier, UD, and conference play, is NKU isolated some guys a couple
Mhm.
times and got some buckets that I didn't like. I know Dylan Mitchell got isolated in the post and scored on. It was way too easy. A couple times, Sam Vincent kind of isolated, was doing those step back fadeaways. They're going to have to improve on that because that's going to happen in conference play, and we're going to have to be able to guard when we're on an island. And if you can't do that, there are going to be times where you're going to struggle against those superior, athletes. You listen, Bearcats have a lot of good athletes, but other teams have great athletes as well. The team defense is one. I think we'll be really good at that, but got to work on that isolation, whether it's on the post or on the wing. But I want to point out one guy real quick. And JT, if you can chime in on this and give your thoughts, because you were at the game. I know Neil, you were recovering from your sickness. But Connor Hickman, like I've said this before, he was kind of a mystery to me. I didn't see where he fit on this team at the time because I just didn't know him very well. But man, I'm watching and I'm like, he deserves more minutes. He does so many small, nuanced things that I think are important, and even leadership stuff. We've talked about Day potentially being that leader for this Bearcat basketball team, but there was offensively times that Hickman was telling guys where to go and
Yeah.
pointing, get over here, and just hustle plays. I'm impressed with him, JT.
Nah, for sure. He's like a glue guy. But he can.
Yep.
I think like with Day coming back, it allows him, I think, to be more comfortable because I think he can handle. The
Mhm.
positive is, if anything, people get in foul trouble, he can run point if need be. But
Hmm.
he's more comfortable being off guard, and with Day coming back, it allows him not to have to assume those off guard minutes. I'm actually like writing the importance of Day coming back right now. I need to add a couple quotes, but that's the main. That was one of the reasons I thought Day coming back and being as effective as he was in his first minutes, especially on the road. It allows, I think, Connor to go back to his natural position more often, and I think he'll play better. I think he had double digits. I think that might have been his first double digit game of the season, right? Am I right about that, Neil? You know,
Yep.
maybe the
First
first
one
game,
of the
maybe.
season.
Okay, yeah, and I think that's because he didn't have
Yeah,
to worry
first
about
game of
playing
the season.
point. So, yeah, he's a good. I mean, he can guard one on one. He can move his feet. Uh, Athletic, strong built young man, and can shoot. And but I mean, like you say, he does all the little things. So it's one of those things. Day Thomas allows him to have more freedom, and I think
Yeah.
that's going to make the Bearcats better in the long run.
I think that's a great point, JT. With Day coming back, he's just such a key piece to move people to their positions where they can be super successful. And you know, I got really excited during the game for the potential of Tyler Betsy. I'm telling you, I think Tyler Betsy is going to be fantastic. I mean, he's got great size. I'm so impressed with one time there was a kick out to him and the way he set his feet for his 3-point shot was like veteran. It was beautiful, man. Neil, I think over time, Tyler Betsy is going to be one of those guys that Bearcat Nation talks about for a long time.
Yeah, no, most certainly. And I mean, you talk about the footwork on the shot. Bearcats fans, I'm telling you right now, once this kid gets his feet wet at the Division I level, you're going to see how good of a shooter he actually is. We've seen it throughout the summer, but man, he is as advertised. Like, they brought him here to score, and he's going to do that. So
Yeah.
people are just going to expect it at one point this season, but Wes Miller has made it clear multiple times that not many freshmen can come into the Big 12 conference and impact the game, but he believes Tyler Betsy will have an impact on multiple games this season. And he's not wrong about that. We'll see it as the season goes down, I'm sure, but you got to like where you're at and seeing what you've seen so far from Tyler Betsy. I mean, 6'8", what is he up to, JT? 225, 230 right now?
Think
So,
so.
I mean, he's added, 25 pounds since getting to Cincinnati? I mean, you look at
Jeez.
Cincinnati and the job that Mike Rayfeld has done with Tyler Betsy. it's gonna unlock a whole different game for Betsy as the season goes on.
Now, the Bearcats take on Georgia Tech this Saturday, 7 p.m. in Atlanta, Georgia. ATL, Shorty. Neil, are you familiar with that? What that means? ATL, Shorty?
I'm not.
No. JT, we got to school them a little bit later on that. We'll get them right. You're listening to the Bearcat Tip-Off Talk podcast presented by Donahue Accounting Services. Now let's jump into the Big O segment, sponsored by Smart Dog Solutions. In this segment, we cover players to watch in key matchups. JT, who do we need to look out for from the Bearcats?
Man, that's a good question, man. Good question. All right, so this is going to be cliche just because of how hot the young man is shooting the ball from three. Go and see Moss, man. See if he's going to take it.
I'm writing this down, JT.
Hey, Jizzle had he had good first half. 9 points, four rebounds, 4 assists, ended up with 11 and 6. So it was solid. It's just that he kept him floating in the first half, and C Moss took it from there the second half. So I didn't do too bad on the first pick. What you think? Right? All right. So we go on C Moss. I want to see how he shoots on the road. I mean, he shot on the road at NKU, but that was 10 miles away from home. But it's a hostile environment. I want to see how he shoots. Hopefully they don't take him to Magic City or any of those clubs. You know what I mean? Get him some some lemon pepper Lou wings or nothing. Keep him away from there so he's shooting instead of saying. They might change his life if he goes to one of them places. I'm just keep being honest with you. But but
wait, JT, hold on. Neil, do you know what Magic City is?
Yes, of course, Meach. We all know what Magic
Onyx.
City
They could take him to
is.
Onyx, maybe.
Hey,
I'll take him to Onyx.
All right, I gotta ask Neil. So if you ever go to Atlanta and you end up missing, we know what happened.
Heck, JT and I went to Atlanta for the Peach Bowl together a few years ago. We both made it back. So
okay, did you go to Magic City?
That was pandemic.
It was pandemic though. It was pandemic though.
Hey, the show don't stop.
It don't.
Oh,
it was safe, but yeah.
We were too busy watching.
That was a curveball.
All right, so you're going with CMOS.
CMOS, I say 3 to 4 assists.
Okay.
We're going 3 to 4 rebounds. Let's go 14 to 18 points, man. And see what happens. We're going to CMOS. But I just think the way he shoots the three, the way he's been shooting it this year, I mean, he's on an unbelievable pace right now. It's going to be hard to keep that pace up, but he's not shooting bad shots. That's what's crazy. Like, he's only shot like maybe 2 heat check shots all year.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
one of them went in.
Yeah. So, like, just think about it. Like, teams are going to have to rotate their defense to him right now. I just think he's still going to get his points, and then they have enough talent where other people are going to score. I think he's still going to be the guy right now. We got to roll with CMOS right now.
Yeah. And Neil, in Damon Stoudemire's season so far, I'm not sure what their record is right now, but I know he's got some new players. And listen, Damon Stoudemire does a great job. He connects with the kids very well. So Bearcats will definitely have their hands full. Who do we need to watch out for from the Yellow Jackets?
Yeah, before we get to Georgia Tech, following back in on JT's prediction, I mean, we spoke to Wes Miller today, and he talked about CMOS Lukosius, and the quote he gave us was, "CMOS has my whole confidence. He has the confidence of the staff and of his teammates. You see the work ethic, production every day in practice. He has earned all the freedom and confidence, not just from me, but from everyone around this program. And guys, if he gets a clean look from anywhere behind the three-point line within his range, and his range is pretty deep, I think it's a good shot for our team." So following back in on CMOS, I think that says the amount of confidence that Wes Miller has in him. But for Georgia Tech, on the other hand, it's a pretty similar – I wouldn't say similar. They have a lot of continuity from the matchup last year that took place at Fifth Third Arena, and that was a complete blowout at Fifth Third Arena last year. But they also have familiar faces that they added in the transfer portal. So they are led by Bay Ndongo, who is the 6'9" sophomore, 245-pound big man, and he is their leading scorer, averaging 16 points a game and he's averaging almost a double-double, essentially. Averaging 8 rebounds as well, 48% field goal shooter. This is going to be their guy in the post that they are going to run their offense through. And, I mean, I asked Wes Miller about it earlier today about what stands out to Ndongo on tape. And Wes Miller said, guys, I mean, his first collegiate game was versus Cincinnati last year, and he finished with the double-double and gave Cincinnati a lot of problems there in the front court. You see what he's doing now in the second year under Damon Stoudemire. He could be a very big problem in this matchup. Obviously, it's going to be interesting to see how does Dylan Mitchell handle that matchup? How does Aziz Bandago handle that matchup? Arrington Page. It's going to be interesting to see how the Cincinnati handle a very talented front court player, which is something they haven't seen over the first 4 games. And then in terms of their backcourt is very experienced as well. Lance Terry missed all of last season due to an injury. And then you bring in Oklahoma transfer Javian McCullum, who absolutely torched Cincinnati in the one game that he played versus the Bearcats last season with Oklahoma. He missed the one game due to injury, but the one game he did play versus Cincinnati last year, he made them pay, and he is their second leading scorer, averaging 15 points a game. Leads the team second on the team in 15 assists, 50% field goal shooter, but he is a guy who can score in all kinds of volume. He will be the guy that probably you will see a Jizzle James matchup on. It's going to be interesting, but those are the 2 guys there. But once those 2 guys get rolling and kind of correlate together for Georgia Tech and Damon Stoudemire, they could be a dangerous combo, to say the least.
All right. You know what time it is.
The name game. Shirley, go girly, banana, go girly, fee, fine, go merly.
Neil, you need to do a little dance while that goes. That's what they do in Magic City. Okay. All right. You know what time it is, Bearcat fans. It's time for the name game with Neil Meyer. Now, this is where every episode, before the Bearcats play someone, we look at their roster, find some names that are a little bit tough to say, and we have our resident guru in saying names, Neil Meyer, attempt this out. Now, Neil, do you have the roster up for Georgia Tech?
Yes, sir.
All right, let's start with number 11.
Number 11 is Bay Ndongo.
I love that. Ndongo. Number 30.
Number 30 is Ibrahim Suare.
That was really good.
Yeah, it was.
Good job with that. Number 45.
And number 45 is Dorian Onwuchekwa. Onwuchekwa. That's how you say it. Onwuchekwa.
That's spelled Onwuchekwa.
Yeah, that's a hell of a name.
Wow. Man, that is a hell of a name. Now, this might be one of the guys. I've only think we've had a couple times where we actually had to go to the staff for the name game. Neil, can you go down to the first grad assistant?
Man, I didn't know Bonzi Wells was on their staff. Oh, my bad.
Yeah, Bonzi Wells was on their staff last year, too.
Damn, I missed that one. All right, my bad.
First grad assistant, Neil.
Oh, shoot.
Rob Mbenon.
That's a tough one.
That's tough.
That's
that was tough shit.
You don't see M and B together. It's like
Rob Mbenon, maybe? Mbenon?
Yeah, I don't know.
Something silent. It gotta be something silent. It's probably.
But yeah, JT, you forgot Bonzi Wells was on their staff?
Yeah, I missed that one.
Yeah, Damon brought him from the league.
All right, Neil, stay focused. We're not done. I need you to stay focused. Second grad assistant.
Second grad assistant. Nnamdi Okonkwo.
That's strong.
Yeah.
We've had some pretty good thus far. The first 2 pods, man. We've had some good names here for the name game.
Decent.
Not bad.
Decent.
Okay, now you can talk about Bonzi Wells. Go ahead.
Yeah, how did you forget, JT? Bonzi was last year.
Damn, I
Who's
missed
that
that,
fit
man.
third with Damon last year?
Man, we be having 100. We having 100 profiles we
100
going through.
million thing. Yeah,
Yeah, man, I forgot.
yeah,
I
he
forgot
was
that. I
that's a
should have
big
known
time
that
addition
too.
for Damon's staff down there.
I know he was coaching though, but I don't know how I missed that he was on Georgia Tech staff. I forgot
Yep.
that.
Yep. Long time NBA pro, man. So
I
it's
know players f up sometimes,
what's that?
Said players f up sometimes,
Hey, man, it happens. He was with the Trailblazers,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, Trailblazers probably was one of his good spots. I feel like he might have been at Memphis for a second. He was a solid
Pistons.
player. He was good.
Yep.
Went to
No
Ball
question.
State. Almost went to Ball State because of Bonzi Wells.
Okay. All right.
When
The
they
Big
made
O
that deep
segment is
run.
sponsored by Smart Dog Solutions. Hey, so let me just throw this in quickly. JT, I'm gonna kind of piggyback off what you were saying earlier. I know last game you picked Jizzle. This game I'm gonna pick Jizzle as the player to
Okay.
watch. I feel like road game. This is going to be another game where there's going to be some struggle and adversity, and I really like how Jizzle he tries to attack that adversity. Right?
Yep.
He's never scared of the big moment. And I think he does need to improve on some shot selection because
Yep.
during the NKU game, I thought there were two shots he took that were out of rhythm. I like what what he's thinking and what he's trying to do. He's like, okay, we need to get momentum. If I can hit this shot, this is going to help us, get to a 10-point lead that leads to 15, leads to
Yeah.
20, and open it up. And I like that mentality. I think he just needs to improve on shot selection at times.
That's fair. Sometimes like it'd be a couple, but I feel like he's doing a better job this year, like far
Yep,
as
I
getting
agree.
others involved. But yeah, like you said, it's like a couple times you're like, just wait. You know what I mean? Like,
Yep.
but then I feel like he sees that after he does like the one or two bad ones, and he's like, all right, then he gets back in the flow.
Yep.
Uh,
I agree.
Fighting against himself sometimes.
Happens. The Big O segment is sponsored by Smart Dog Solutions. Do you have a business that needs better inventory control, production management, or improved accounting control? Outgrown QuickBooks or can't afford NetSuite? Give loyal Bearcat grads Doug and Kathy Jacobs at Smart Dog Solutions a call. They've been in your position and will love to help you solve your problems. You can contact them at 513-739-9473 or online at smartdog-solutions.com. You're listening to the Bearcat Tip-Off Talk podcast presented by Donahue Accounting Services. Now, this is the Kenyon segment sponsored by Greg Hooden at Beachmont Toyota. This is where we cover the keys to the game. JT, what do the Bearcats need to do to win?
Man, so I'll say it's on the road. First far road, the second true road game, no. So we won't slight NKU because that was a raucous environment, and they really wanted that. The fans were there, so I'm going to say they need to rebound the ball. They can't. I mean, they got dominated on the glass with NKU. They lost by 9. I say they got to show improvement. They need to at least be within two rebounds if they lose the battle, and then I want to say shoot between 36 to 40% from 3. I think that's the thing because as good as like Seamus, Hickman, and them been shooting, Betsy as well. On the road, they got to keep carrying it on the road, and I just want to see if they're going to consistently shoot over that 35% clip. So I want to see that, and then they got to get closer on the rebound battle because this team is going to be more athletic than NKU, and that's no slight to them. And if they allow them to have a better gap on rebounding, then that's going to allow more second chance points, and that normally is a recipe for a loss. So I want to see them protect the ball for sure, but I want to see them shoot the 3 pretty swell, and then also rebound. I'd rather them win the rebounding battle, but I want them to be, if they do lose, it needs to be within a couple rebounds.
Now, JT, when you talk about shooting a high percentage from the three-point line, who are you looking for from the Bearcats to shoot those threes?
Okay, so the people that I want to see shoot them, Hickman, of course, Seamus. Seamus has the three green light right now. And then Betsy. Those are the 3, and then Jizzle can shoot a couple as well. But I want to see those 3. If they shoot 23s, 16 of them need to be from those guys. That's how I'm looking at it right now.
Okay, now Neil, what did the Bearcats need to do to win big?
Yeah, so in order for Cincinnati to win big and improve to 5-0 on Saturday, they need to win the rebounding margin for one. That is the biggest emphasis here. Obviously, as JT mentioned, you lose the rebounding battle versus Morehead State, and then on top of it, you lose it versus NKU. If you want to win versus a good ACC opponent, you got to win the Battle of the Glass, and it starts there on Saturday. If they can win the Battle of the Glass, Cincinnati should be able to win big. However, they can't be sloppy with the ball on offense as well. If they can limit their turnovers under 10 and you can win the rebounding margin by +5 or more, Cincinnati should be able to beat Georgia Tech on Saturday by at least double digits.
I like that, Neil. And I do think we need to take care of the basketball. There were times, listen, I know Day was his first game back, but he was a little loosey-goosey a couple times with the basketball. I think Jizzle had a couple turnovers here and there, but keep that under 10 with those turnovers, Neil. I think you're spot on. When rebounding the basketball, Neil, like you talked about, what do you think our problem is, right now? Is it a problem of we're not being aggressive enough going to rebound, or guys out of position? What do you think the problem is?
The problem for the rebounding right now is I think they're just not in the right position at times. Obviously, you're getting beat on the offensive boards, and that's a sign where everybody who knows Wes Miller and this Cincinnati staff know how much they pride and preach offensive rebounding, but they're just getting beat on the offensive boards right now. And that's something that shouldn't be happening when you have guys like Aziz Bandago and Dylan Mitchell as your two leading rebounders there in the front court. So I think they're just slightly out of position, some small tweaks and whatnot. But overall, once they get that turned around, I mean, obviously not having Dan Skillings plays a huge factor into that as well, especially with Dan's go-go gadget arms. It just seems like he can grab anything off the boards. And that's what makes Dan a special player, is his athleticism. So they're definitely missing Dan, but you can't contribute the offensive rebounding to just one player. So overall, I think they're still trying to kind of find their identity without Dan. Obviously, they practiced all season with him, the first game, and they're still trying to find find their roles and their identity without Dan after the minor procedure. But overall, I think it's just a matter of time and continuity and getting those reps together. But hopefully Saturday changes that and they win that Battle of the Glass.
Yeah, and if you look at Georgia Tech's last game, they got beat by Georgia. Georgia won the Glass 40-34. So my hope is that we do the same thing and beat them on the glass and win that basketball game. The Kenyon segment, Keys to the Game, was sponsored by Greg Hooden at Beachmont Toyota. Come see fellow Bearcat Greg Hooden at Beachmont Toyota for all your new and pre-owned Toyota needs. Look for Greg Hooden on Instagram and Twitter at Cincy Greg Hooden, Hooden spelled Hoodin, or come see Greg at Beachmont Toyota. Always ready to help our Bearcat family get into a new Toyota. And by the way, Greg is a great follow on Twitter and Instagram, man. You talk about a guy that loves the Cincinnati Bearcats, big fan, loves the city of Cincinnati. He's always promoting and talking about positive things. So I love that about you, Greg, man. Thanks for your support of the podcast. Again, you're listening to the Bearcat Tip-Off Talk podcast presented by Donahue Accounting Services. Now getting into the Twyman segment, sponsored by Visionary Cleaners. This is where we cover hot topics. All right, fellas, you ready?
Yes, sir.
Okay, here's the hot topics that I came up with. All right, so it's a hypothetical, all right? But this Saturday, the men's basketball team plays Georgia Tech at 2 p.m., and then the football team plays Saturday against Kansas State at 7 p.m., right?
Yep. 8.
Got
Right?
that?
No, say 7. It's 7?
No,
Yep.
it's 8.
It's 8. Okay, I thought.
Oh, it's 8 o'clock?
They flexed them to 8.
It's 8.
Okay, 8 o'clock. So obviously we got a little gap there. So hypothetical. Let's say that the Bearcat basketball team, like one year, is number 1 in the country. And the football team is number 1 in the country. Now, first of all, wouldn't that be a great thing? Could you imagine
That'd
the
be dope.
city if football and basketball were number 1 at the same time? So imagine both teams are number one at the same time. And both teams have enormous regular season games on the same day at the same time. Okay, so let's say the Bearcat football team has a big game. They're number one in the country, and they play Saturday at 7. Basketball team, number one in the country, they have a big game Saturday at 7. Both teams play at the same time. You can only watch one or the other. JT, I'm going to start with you. Who do you watch? Number one Bearcat basketball or number one Bearcat
All
football?
right. So do I answer this just as a pure fan, or do I cheat as a media person? I'm gonna ask you that before I answer my question.
Fan.
I could technically cheat this question. Neil probably can too.
Fan.
Okay, cool. So I won't cheat the question. All right. So number one, same time, same city. We going basketball, baby. We going basketball. Basketball. Okay. Why? No slight to the football team. Respect to the football coaches that have been there, and how they have built the program up and put them on the main stage. Ain't nothing like Bearcat basketball, man. When Bearcat basketball is rolling, it's a different feel in the city because it's like a team that high school people love. It's just people from out of, you know how many stories people are just always have about UC basketball? It's crazy. It's like 6 degrees of separation. So I'm at the UC basketball game as a fan for sure. Ain't no ifs, ands, or buts. You get out the elements. You get the elements, and it's gonna be jumping in there. You number one, it's gonna be sweating in there. They number one. It's gonna be crazy. Mm-hmm. Might lose your hearing or something in there.
Neil?
See, I'm gonna go with JT. Same as JT. I'm gonna go with basketball, but I got a different reasoning. You go to the basketball game. Obviously, everybody knows the change of pace is different compared to football. Obviously, football games take about 4 hours. Now, basketball, they only take about an hour and 45 minutes. But if they're both playing at the same time in the same city at the University of Cincinnati, you get your Bearcats fans, you go pack out Fifth Third Arena, and you know what you do after the game? You get your butt right outside the Nippert Stadium, all 13,000.
He cheated me. He cheated. See, he cheated.
JT, he's cheating it. No, you can't cheat it, Neil.
Just saying, as a fan,
it's one or the other.
As a fan, if it's one or the other, I would go basketball. But if you cheat it,
you got the bullet to your head. You got the gun to your head right now, man. You can't flip flop. See, I was gonna cheat it. That's why I asked the question.
There's so many ways to cheat it. That's why I wanted. There's so many ways to cheat it. I just wanted to know from a fan's perspective.
But as a fan's perspective, you kind of saw what the football environment was like when they were ranked top 5 in the country. But basketball in the Big 12 right now, if they're ranked number 1, everybody going to be in Fifth Third Arena. I think that's a give me. Just due to the Big 12, what it brings to the table. So as a fan, in that aspect, I'm getting inside Fifth Third Arena for sure. Especially in a sold-out Fifth Third Arena versus another potential top 10 team. That's going to be a dangerous environment. It's going to be frightening in there. In the wise words of Dylan Mitchell, it's going to be frightening in Fifth Third Arena.
The Twyman segment is sponsored by Visionary Cleaners. All right, so I'm going to say this. So obviously in a regular season, football and basketball is so very different because you play more basketball regular season games than football plays regular season games. So, you look at football, regular season games mean, I think, a lot more to the overall grand scheme of things, right? So probably the football game would be a more important game in the bigger picture with the playoffs and all that. However, I'm going to say, just like what JT was talking about, there's so much history with UC basketball. And if you go back in time and you really look at when the Bengals, when the Reds, so many things sports-wise in this city were down, Bearcat basketball held this city up. And there will always be that. And I think the heart of this city, for those that are true basketball fans and Cincinnati Bearcat fans, just love UC basketball. And that's no slight of the football team. I love the football team, love the football players, but like JT said, I think it's basketball all day, baby. Got to go with hoops. And listen, I honestly think there will be a point when the Bearcat basketball team will be number one in the country playing in Fifth Third Arena in a regular season game. I think that's going to happen. You can, if you listen to Wes Miller in these press conferences, and Neil, you're there, JT, you're there. Do you hear this dude's confidence? Like, I could just, he's getting more and more confident with who he is as the Bearcat head coach. Not that he's not a confident person, but I feel like he's at that podium and in that chair, like, I'm the fucking Bearcat head coach, y'all. I'm getting this shit done. I'm getting recruits in here. We got Jordan back. We got a lot of buzz here. We're gonna get
Yeah.
this thing rolling. Don't you guys feel that way?
Yep.
Yeah, you can definitely feel it.
Nah, for sure. I could tell just how he's approaching the presser. You know what I mean? Like, because when you got a good team, you know your team's good. You nitpick on the little things.
Yeah.
And that's what he's doing. Like right now, he on their bumper about rebounding. So you know once he gets that fixed, and once that's like solid, this team don't have many holes in it. You know what I mean? So it's like that. Like you said, the isolation defense, and you control the rebound, and you stay close on rebound and win the majority of the rebounding battles. It's not much else this team does bad. Like they do a lot of things good. So if you can control this now before Dan comes back, when Dan comes back, the rebound's that's going to help rebounding out almost automatically. So you get that fixed before, the sky's the limit. Like now everybody better, you know what I'm saying, they better eat the breakfast before they come play UC because it's going to be a long day. Lunch pail games, you know what I mean? So you can just tell, man. You can tell something's happening.
Yeah, that swag is back, and Wes Miller's walking differently right now, man. He's got that little George Jefferson bop going. He's feeling good. But I want to take the time out real quick, and you guys are closer to the vest on this than I am, so I'm going to kind of lob this out for you. But I want to give a shout out to Coach Satterfield from this standpoint. The football team has had some ups and downs this year. Obviously, the Pitt game. You think maybe how different the season could be? They win that Pitt game. Texas Tech was what? Field goal?
44-41,
Yeah.
yep. Well,
right?
A lot of other things outside the field goal too. A lot of things that were out of their control in the last minute and a half, I feel like.
So imagine, things could have been a little bit different with those two wins. But the reason I wanted to give Coach Satterfield a shout out was I really feel like with all the criticism that he is receiving, he has received since he got hired. Like from day one, he's received criticism. And all the things that are said on social media, get Coach Satterfield out of here, blah, blah, blah. He's just really kept his head down, and his focus has been on those players. And he hasn't really got into that negativity and that all the negative energy on social media. He's not even addressed that. And I think that's important because there are head coaches who stand on that podium and they do address that negativity, and they come right back at those fans. Billy Napier at Florida, he went back at the fans in a press conference. He told them to go back in their basement and do whatever on Twitter or whatever. First of all, I don't have basements in Florida because of the way things are set up. But he went right at those fans, and we've seen coaches do that. Coach Satterfield's not done that, and I'm gonna tell you why I appreciate that, because as adults, as coaches, we tell our players and we tell our young people, don't listen to the negativity. Focus in on what you're trying to do. And I think he's done that. And I think that's a great example, for our young people. And so I do want to give him a shout out for that, regardless of what we think of him as a coach or whatever people think. You guys are there at the press conferences. Your guys' thoughts?
Yeah, I'll go first.
Okay, cool.
Overall, I'm right there with you, Meach, because from the moment Scott Satterfield got to Cincinnati, obviously fans were kind of on cloud nine of the hire, or they were really low. They didn't know what to expect. but you also have to give the circumstance of what it was when they hired him. He got hired late December. He was already behind the 8 ball in the transfer portal, the first class. So he was scrambling, getting guys in. His staff wasn't even built yet. He had to build a staff. He not only had to build a staff and a roster, he also had to put people in the right position, figure out the roster with people who decided to stay at Cincinnati. It was just it was a situation that not many coaches had to deal with in that kind of aspect. But then you look at it when he did get his first full class of recruits and transfers here, Cincinnati is now sitting just one game away from a bowl berth, even though many could say that they already should have clinched that bowl berth. But overall, like, you see the trajectory going up under Scott Satterfield from year 1 to year 2. But like you mentioned, he has ignored all the hate that Bearcats fans or people who are frustrated with on social media have expressed their frustrations. He has silenced that. He's focused on the locker room and the group of guys he has right now. And I mean, that's a great thing to have, considering a prime example of that would be, look at what West Virginia is dealing with right now with head coach Neil Brown. The fans let him know, like, on social media, that they weren't happy with the team's performance. He addressed it, and then look what happened. He basically lost the fan base, and now he's having to try to win them back. That's something you don't want to do as a head coach. And I think, personally, he's handled it well. I mean, obviously, everybody knows, as a media aspect, everybody knows you have to give the guy at least 3 years in the new college football landscape. It's just, you just have to. You have to give him time to build and try to really build his foundation of what he wants to build as a coach. So overall, I think he's done a fantastic job, but he's not only done a fantastic job in that aspect. He's an overall just great, genuine guy too. I know I've had plenty of interaction with him where he's checking on me outside of things, where he's asked me how my day was. I know we had a great interaction with him out in Las Vegas at Big 12 Media Days, where he was like, how's your trip? All this and that. Just asking the smaller things, checking in on us. So that goes a long way as well. And also when he first got hired too, I mean, he made a great impression on all of us. He sat and ate lunch with all of us after his opening press conference. You don't see many coaches doing that, especially in that situation when he just got hired.
Yeah. JT, your thoughts?
Yeah, I feel like, as far as keeping his head down, and just like not letting the outside noise affect how he's running the ship, I think he's done a great job of doing that. Because when it's been a roller coaster season after having a very bad first season. It's just not pulling punches on that. This team is one game away from being bowl eligible. Hopefully that can happen. It's going to be a little tougher if they're not bowl eligible. So, but we won't foresee that. Hopefully, Bearcats can at least win one of their next 2 games, and everybody kind of salvages this season. But like you said, there's much stuff, from the highs of being 5-2, now being 5-5. He's kind of just kept those blinders on, those driver's blinders on, and he's staying focused on the situation and the task at hand. So you got to give him props, because like you said, everybody tells young people to let stuff go off their back and stay focused, but when they're in that situation, they normally don't react how they tell young people to react, right?
100%.
So, and he's practicing what he's preaching, so that's you got to give him props for that. Like, no matter how you feel, like you said, about how the season's gone, you got to give him props for that. So, and I do as well, because I have little ones, so I'll tell them, hey, you got to react this way, but they might see a similar situation and they see their dad not react the way that they tell them to react. So then they might call you out on it, right? But when you're in that situation and you can react, the way you said, tell somebody else to react, you got to give them props.
Yeah. And listen, we're in a new day and age with social media, and people can say whatever they want. I think we just recently saw, I don't know if it was yesterday or this morning, LeBron James said he's stepping away from social media because of all the hatred on social media. You look at a guy that I think he's a great human being, really good guy, and some of the comments made about him on social media, and that's Evan McPherson, Money Mac from the Bengals. I know he's missed some field goals, hasn't played well, but like reading some of the comments on social media, I'm like, good Lord, like, man, this dude's just kicking field goals. You're coming at him like he changed some like political policies or something. It's like, but listen, I know those guys get Coach Satterfield gets paid very well. LeBron obviously will be a billionaire. Evan McPherson just signed a new contract, making a lot of money. But still, at the end of the day, they're human beings. They hear
Yeah,
these things, and I think what bothers me sometimes about it is not necessarily the individual. LeBron, Evan, and Coach Satterfield examples we're using. So I think they can handle some things, but it's like their family members.
yeah,
Their family members have to see and hear that stuff, and that's got to be a little bit tough on young people. And I always hate to. Now Evan McPherson, I don't think has. I think he's got he has got a newborn or something like
yeah,
that. But
yeah. It's young, it's child, young. So it should be okay. He won't have to worry about it. But people got to realize, some family members ain't about that play stuff either.
they will come for
Just
you,
because
bull.
just because everybody else is polished and got their stuff together, it's somebody else that might do something to you. You keep talking about their family member too much, and they don't care. You know what I mean? People
Absolutely.
people people think, and a lot of keyboard warriors, they say that stuff, say some disrespectful stuff. You could, if you go on jab or whatever, but being purely disrespectful, some people that'll come and they might slap you or yoke you up. You know what I mean?
Come knock on your door.
For real. I mean, they got money, so it ain't no. I mean, it ain't like it ain't
Yeah.
possible. So some people like you talk about. Just imagine somebody's talking crazy about Dante Coleon, then you see him in the street, and he mad. What you gonna do? What you gonna
Nothing.
do? Like, what you gonna do? The
No.
kid's 330
Yeah.
pounds, 6'2",
Yeah. And
in
I've
shape.
always
What you gonna do? He yoking you up with one hand. He moves lineman all the time.
Yeah, I
You know what I'm saying?
understand. I listen. I know people are passionate about their sport. They're passionate about their team, and I get all that. And I think too, you guys might agree or disagree with this. You can tell me your thoughts, but I think sports betting has changed a lot of things from a fan's mindset. In that, let's say the Bearcats have a basketball game and I'm like, oh, the Bearcats are definitely gonna beat,
Yeah,
whoever. And I put a lot of money on there, right, on that game. And somebody on the Bearcats misses a layup or does something that messes that up. Now this fan is going after that dude. You know what I'm saying? Because they've lost a lot of money. I've
yeah,
seen that. I've heard about that.
I mean, we
I
saw
think
it
that
the first game versus Cincinnati when the spread was, what was it, 28.5, and Ray missed the free throw, and then everyone, or
you said the first
Georgia,
game.
or our
You said the
first game
first
of the
game versus
season
who? You
this
said versus
year,
Cincinnati. You said versus Cincinnati. Who are you talking
yeah,
about?
Cincinnati versus Arkansas Pine Bluff
Arkansas.
this year.
Okay.
You saw how the fans kind of reacted to the spread, because the spread was like 28.5 or something. And then the kid hits the jumper, and then they come down, or hits the free throw. And then the spread's like 27, or it was 1 point off, and they're yelling at Ray with 15 seconds left, like, shoot it, trying to like kind of
Yeah.
obviously anticipate the spread. But
Spread.
you see how it like definitely can alter a fan's aspect kind of thing and
It's
change the
serious
landscape.
stuff. It's serious. It is serious stuff, man. But listen, hey, we've got a lot of. I want to say this. There are so many great Bearcat fans. I go to the football games. I go to the basketball games, man, and just great people. A lot of them, especially those long time like fans
Mm-hmm.
that have been, going to football and basketball games for 30. I ran into a guy. I was at a fundraising event. This guy came over to me and he introduced himself, and I'd never met him before, and he was like, hey, I'm a big Bearcat fan. He's like, I was one of those guys yelling for you to get in the game, and back in the day. And I said, really? I said, well, first of all, thank you. And how long have you been a Bearcat like fan? He said, oh, I've been a season ticket holder. I used to go when I was like 9 years old. And I was like, man, and like he's so passionate, but it's like a positive, passionate, Bearcat fan. We have so many of those people around football and basketball, man. And listen, those passionate, fans listen to our podcast, so we're appreciative of that, right?
no,
They
no,
they want to get good content, so We definitely appreciate those Bearcat fans. So, fellas, this concludes another great podcast. Thanks to all of our sponsors: Donahue Accounting Services, Smart Dog Solutions, Greg Hood and Beachmont Toyota, and Visionary Cleaners. You're listening to the Bearcat Tip-Off Talk podcast presented by Donahue Accounting Services. For friendly expert tax advice whenever you need it, come to Donahue Accounting Services. A leading accounting firm in Cincinnati, Ohio, our top-notch accountants strive to help you resolve all your financial and tax issues. Call Donahue Accounting Services today for a free consultation at 513-528-3982 or visit online at donahueaccountingservice.com. And before we get off real quick, Neil, Taylor Keaton, I saw him the other day, and he was angry with me because I didn't say his name on the last podcast. I had mentioned a photographer, and I didn't say his name, and he rolled up on me. JT, he rolled up on me. So, Taylor Keaton, the best photographer in the land. He takes a lot of pictures for a lot of things that I'm involved with. He's always on time. He's always prepared, gets photos to us right away. Shout out my guy Taylor Keaton, Neil, because he was ready. He didn't even say hello. He just rolled up on me like, "Hey man, I got beef with you."
That's Taylor. That's Taylor. That's our boy. That's Taylor. He's got me multiple times. That's Taylor. He's got me multiple times like
he's
that.
A bully, man. Taylor, you're a bully.
Hey, Taylor will give it to you straight. So if Bearcats fans want any good conversations and arguments, Taylor Keaton will put you in your place. He'll put you in your place.
He's ready for that smoke. He's ready.
He wants it too.
Yeah, for sure. JT, do you know Taylor?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, Taylor, good dude.
He's a very, very good dude. So shout out Taylor, man. And we want to thank all the Bearcat fans out there for listening to another episode of the Bearcat Tip-Off Talk podcast. Go Bearcats.